What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another video. If you don't know who I am, that means you're new. I'm Mark. What's good with y'all? Go check out my other videos. Check them out. Check them out. You know, okay, yeah, I was about to say I haven't charged the microphone in a while. I want to make sure it's still on. All right, so welcome back to another episode of Debunking Anti Gunners. Now, it's kind of funny that I'm having to talk about this at this point in time because I don't know. I think it was October or September. I kind of touched on this topic a little bit in another video. I think it's important that we talk about this because it's kind of funny because I kind of called out the irony in this way back then. All right, so let's get into it. For those of y'all who, have been living under a rock, you don't know, Hunter Biden, the son of our president, unfortunately, Joe Biden, has a federal gun charge on him. Why? Well, he lied on a 4473, saying he's not addicted to any illegal substances, despite the fact that there is several forms of proof that he has a pure to the T addiction to crack cocaine. So we're gonna get into this episode of Debunking Anti Gunners. I'm sure some of y'all are wondering, why did I have to bring that up? Well, according to these anti gunners, we are hypocrites as gun owners for not supporting Hunter Biden with his gun case and saying that, we hope he gets the charges dropped. I'm going to go ahead and debunk that, and I'm going to explain why that's completely stupid. And honestly, I'm going to explain to them why the hypocrisy truthfully falls on them. So let's get right into it. For starters, all right, anybody who is like me and is a Second Amendment absolutist will tell you any gun law is an infringement. There's no way around that. That's just the truth of the matter here. Now, with that being said, does that mean that there haven't been infringements on our Second Amendment right? No. Two things can be true at once. The Second Amendment can say shall not be infringed, and these motherfuckers are still going to try to infringe it because they are tyrannical. That is just what we know. We know both of these things to be true. All right. So with that being the case, just because we are not happy with the gun laws that are put into effect does not mean that we don't feel that everybody should be held accountable to the same laws that we are held accountable to. That is the truth of the matter here. Just because, let's say, magically speaking, I'm pro-murder. Let's say that's a very tough take to have, by the way, being pro-murder. All right. So it's almost like me saying, yes, I'm pro-murder, but this guy over here who killed in self-defense, I'm for that too. No, I'm pro-murder is what, that means, guys. All right. I was like, that's what that means. So in the way that I am pro-Second Amendment, just because I am pro-Second Amendment and I want people to, not have any infringements on their Second Amendment right, doesn't mean that the infringements that are already in effect that I'm held accountable to, just because that doesn't mean that I don't want everyone else held accountable to the same shit that I'm held accountable to. Why? Because none of y'all, especially in the government, are special enough to avoid the law. Why? Because you guys are the ones who fucking write it. That's the issue here, is that we see a majority of people in politics breaking the laws that they help come up with. So, why do we not support Hunter Biden in his gun case? Well, let's see here. If we lied on a 4473 and got caught, we would be doing federal time for however many years. Last I checked, one of the most famous rappers on the planet, Kodak Black, got well over 4 years for it. I was about to say it was President Trump who had it was President Trump who had to pardon him. Why? Because our government is tyrannical, and for something like that, they would sentence somebody to an extreme amount of time. 4 years for a paperwork offense is what they sentence a rapper to. Now, granted, that is a rapper. That is somebody, who has a long criminal record. I will say that. However, why are we not holding the same standards to Hunter Biden? Give me one reason. You can't give me a single reason, despite the fact that what they did was the same fucking thing. They both lied on a 4473. And that's one of the biggest issues we see here is that in all reality, they don't want true justice. All right. What they want is justice for them. Justice. Here's the thing is that when you look at justice, you can't sit here and say that the term justice can only be for one group of people, because then it's not justice, it's bias. That's just how it works here. So while I'm completely against any laws on the Second Amendment, if there are laws that are in effect that you broke, you need to be held accountable to them, despite the fact that I disagree with those laws. Why? Because I would be held accountable to them. Everyone else who is not in a position of power would be held accountable to them. So why in the flying fuck does Hunter Biden get a pass? He doesn't. It makes no sense. Like that's one of the most idiotic things ever. And honestly, here's what's even crazy about it. It goes to show more proof to the double standards that they even have. Let me put it like this, right? What did they do? Trump is how old? And he just got hit with how many felonies? Okay, right, my point. The Department of Defense, it was either the Department of Defense or the Department of Justice, like one of the two, openly stated that they would never prosecute Biden for any criminal charges, as they feel that a jury would feel sympathetic towards him for his age. So therefore, he's not going to get charged with any crimes, ever. Okay. Hypocrisy is the double standard, however you want to phrase it. So there's just that, right? You're like, okay, well, maybe that's just a fluke in the double standard or the hypocrisy that we see with the left. But they'll even take it out of politics. They'll take it into just random things. As I said before, one of the most famous rappers on the planet got sentenced to 4 years, actually over 4 years, for lying on a 4473. And Democrats were perfectly okay with that. People were perfectly okay with that. Why? Because he's a rapper who's associated with one of the most violent gangs in the state of Florida. You know what I mean? I'm sure the guy's like a nice guy in person, but like, you set up this reputation for you. You can't be surprised that people aren't complaining too much that you're gone, other than your fans. And I'll say it, I'm a fan of Kodak Black. I'm not afraid to admit that. However, I can also be the person to say that he did that to himself. You see what I mean? Now, I know it kind of sounds like I'm going all over in this video. That's because I kind of want to point out the hypocrisy to this. Because they're sitting here calling us hypocrites, saying that we're not supporting Hunter Biden and we're just these people who we don't want any federal regulation when it comes to firearms. Yes, that's true. But guess what? Y'all sat there and stuck your noses into our rights. Y'all started this shit, and now we're going to hold you accountable to it. You're not going to sit here and say, oh, we're going to take some of your rights away, add all these laws to it, but we're just not going to be affected by it. We can still do whatever we want. Just you guys. No, we're going to hold you accountable to this, because that's what's supposed to happen. No one is above the law in this country, regardless of the status you are. That's the truth of the matter here. Now, since I've covered why at least us Second Amendment absolutists are still saying, hey, yeah, Hunter Biden needs to be in jail, they also called us hypocrites for it. Now, what I'm going to discuss here is how the hypocrisy truthfully lies on them and why that is. Anybody who has committed any form of crime with a firearm, they want to see in prison forever. That crime could simply be somebody trying to start a fight with them, and crime, I might add. I should add quotes to that. The crime they could have committed would be somebody threatening to kill them, and they up their gun in the presence of that gun stopping the threat. And then the person who made the threat calling the police, claiming the victimhood. Even crimes like that, they do want people arrested and put in prison for long sentences. So, with that being the case, right? And this is where, part of me thinks in my head, I'm like, well, let's look at their track record. It's not really hypocritical of them. They do this a lot, but it still falls under the aspect of hypocrisy. Let's get into it. When it comes to people like us who love the Second Amendment, people who own guns, right? They want to find any crime to lock us up. If you commit a crime with a gun, they either want to lock you up, or depending on what state or city you're in, they just can't lock you up because they already have laws against locking up fucking criminals because people are retarded. Not my point. Sorry, getting off topic here. My whole point, though, essentially boils down to the fact that for us Second Amendment lovers, or absolutists, however you want to phrase it, I don't care. I'm a 2A lover. I don't give a shit. Back to it. They want us to be imprisoned for exercising our Second Amendment rights. They want our rights taken away from us. They essentially, I hate to be the person to say it, but for somebody to want to take my right to be able to, one, protect myself and my family, but also fight off a tyrannical government that's trying to control the people of the country I live in, you must look at me as less than. You must think my life is less important. I promise you it ain't. I promise you. Whether the government views us as such or not, I can tell you this right now, all men and women were created equal. Whether the government views it as such or not, I can tell you that right now. Y'all's lives do not have any more value than ours do. The hypocrisy falls on them due to the fact that they keep trying to, essentially imprison us for exercising our Second Amendment rights. They essentially keep trying to censor us for talking about the importance of our Second Amendment rights and essentially look at us as if we are these big pieces of shit. But then they want a free pass for Hunter Biden. No, he's a good guy. Don't worry. He's a good guy. And it's convenient, too, because whenever they bring up the fact that, Hunter Biden is a crackhead who broke several federal and state laws, was even dumb enough to leave evidence behind, when it's brought up to the Biden family, what do? They go to Beau Biden being dead. We don't care. I'm sorry. Look, man, I'm sure Beau Biden was a good dude. I don't know him. I didn't know him. I have no clue, actually, whether or not he was a good guy. We don't care. Okay, I don't care personally that your child is dead when you're trying to bring that up as a shield to cover up your questioning for why it's supposed to be okay for your other child to break several federal and state crimes and he not get punished. I don't care. That's the truth of the matter here. I don't care about your dead child when your alive child is causing all these issues and you're sitting here trying to shirk responsibility from him. The hypocrisy falls on the anti-gunners because they love to put false accountability on us legal gun owners. They love to put false accountability on us, saying we need to take accountability for the actions of criminals who we already say we don't support. But then they want to support a criminal for a gun charge. The hypocrisy falls on them. And it's something that I've stated in the video. I even spoke about this in the past. I believe the video was called, I discovered a cheat code to get our Second Amendment rights back. It was something along those lines. All right. That in order for them to have to sit here and support Hunter Biden, they have to denounce the rights that are against the Second Amendment. That's the only way they can do this, is they have to admit that the Second Amendment is an absolute right that cannot be infringed. And in order for them to admit that, that means they have to admit that they've been wrong this whole fucking time. So it's not going to happen. I'll tell you this right now. It's not going to happen. But the truth of the matter is, that's why the hypocrisy falls on them. Because they don't want to sit here and say that we're the bad guys because we're law-abiding gun owners. But they want to support a non-law-abiding gun owner. Like, he's perfectly fine while claiming we're the criminals. It doesn't make sense. That's why the hypocrisy truthfully falls on them. Now, with that being said, I think that about wraps it up for this video. I don't want to keep going in circles here, despite the fact that I could talk about this topic all fucking day. But with that being said, as I said, that about wraps it up here. Overall, why do we support Hunter Biden being prosecuted? Because if it was us, we would be prosecuted. That's why. Why are we not the hypocrites? Because we're not the ones who put these laws in effect. You are. You're the ones who put these laws into effect, said this is the best idea, that we know what's best for you guys. And then magically speaking, now the president's son has federal and state gun charges and several other charges. And now these laws that you guys put into effect, now those are infringements because they weren't before. If you agree with me, the hypocrisy truthfully falls on them. Make sure to check out all my other videos. Y'all make sure to stay legal, stay safe, stay dangerous. Have a good one, y'all. Peace.